Okay, so this is going to be relatively short because it is initially, like, a few people canceled at the last minute, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, we didn't even plan to have this as a full talk. Thank you, Bartek, for putting me on stage. So yeah, this is an update on the Conformance program. Why do we want to have a Conformance program? Well, I don't have to convince this room that Prometheus is the de facto standard in cloud-native metric-based monitoring and has set the scene for basically the whole industry. We have hundreds of thousands of installations, millions of users. The market segment, which Prometheus defines as per Gartner and all those others, is literally billions and billions of revenue per year, which is quite a scary large number to think about. And at the core, it is really, really easy to say you are compatible. It's a lot harder to actually be compatible. In particular, when it comes down to the nitty-gritty details of how a specific function behaves or how that one value is returned. And it's hard for people to figure this out on their own, and it's hard for people to do the same research again and again, and then you have it through the grapevine. It's also simply unfair. So there might be confusion, sometimes deliberate, sometimes not deliberate, but in the end there is confusion. That is why we felt forced to go down this path. How this works? We have a repository where you have a set of tests which can be run against your implementation, against your cloud provider, by the cloud provider internally. We saw a little bit about this for the alert manager generator or alert generator compliance yesterday. And this is only half of it. Of course, like for us, the tech is interesting, but that's actually not the thing which really bites. So on the other side, CNCF, or to be more precise, the Linux Foundation, because CNCF is not really its own legal thing. It is the Linux Foundation, which is actually standing behind all of this, which also holds the trademarks. Like if you want to use the Prometheus trademark or so, you always end up at the Linux Foundation, not at the CNCF, which most people don't know. I just find it funny and amusing, or interesting to be precise. So the thing is, by introducing a new trademark, you can define who is allowed to use that trademark. For Prometheus, it's relatively easy. You can use it for descriptive use. You cannot say blah, blah, blah Prometheus or the blah, blah, blah Prometheus. You have to say blah, blah, blah for Prometheus. You can find all of this on the Linux Foundation trademark website and overview. The thing is, this is going to be a special trademark where companies or projects can sign paperwork with CNCF binding themselves to follow the guidelines of that certification program. Then they can self-test, submit results, and then they get a time-limited permission to use this mark. And then they need to keep it up to date. And the thing is, none of this is on the technical level. I mean, yes, the running of the tests is on the technical level, but the thing which the people at the companies who become part of this, they don't really have to care about that thing. What they actually care about is the license to use this trademark, which I find extremely amusing, to be honest, because it's like something which in the tech scene is usually not really seen as a positive, is used as a positive force and as a forcing function to get people to actually play by the rules and be honest about stuff. There are 3 names in the whole thing. This is a little bit confusing, but it is quite deliberate, because relatively early in the design process, we realized that even just us starting to talk about stuff, a few market players immediately got quite creative in how they were using words. Of course, again, those words are worth quite a bit of money. So basically, we decided to just hog all the words, so you can't play games, because those are now clearly well-defined within the scheme of the Conformance program. So once you've signed it, you can absolutely not play games with those anymore, because they are well-defined. So Conformance is the name of the program. Compliance is with a or more than one subsystems or APIs. And compatibility is the thing which people actually want to have. You can be compatible as an exporter or as a backend, or like there's different levels, because it doesn't make sense to require an agent to be able to send alerts, obviously. But the thing is, by using it in this way, we also block at least the nice terms from creative use. For end users, the only thing you need to care about is Prometheus compatible. It's going to look like, I forgot to put a picture in, but it's basically a little square thing with the Prometheus logo, and then it says Prometheus compatible, and then it tells you the component, like long-term storage, backend, agent, whatever. Why would people want to do this? Again, lots of money. But there's also other things at play once we hopefully unlock this within companies. Because usually the tech people at companies have a relatively or a really good understanding of what actually works and does not work. And even if they don't have it, having an official reference gives them the ability to self-test and to figure out if things are good. And also, a lot of time, people know what their competitors are doing, are not doing, where they are compatible, where they're not compatible. But you don't really want to talk, like in the open market, about like calling someone else's baby ugly is never a good move. But we hope that a few companies will be enticed to contribute more to Prometheus, maybe in the compliance area. So they add tests where they know that they are good, and maybe know that someone else is not quite as perfect. It's not the best of incentive structures, but history has shown CNCF that this is apparently quite effective. For the bean counters, the incentive is money. Our initial cadence is probably going to be quite aggressive. Of course, we still need to iterate on the thing, but as you can self-certify, the overhead is hopefully relatively little for the people who actually run through the thing. And if you want to have help convincing your manager, your company, your vendor, whatever, to take part in this, please let us know. We are more than happy to help. So, honestly, we are not where we want to be. This has been in the making for quite some time. There was a little bit of overwork on CNCF side that stopped some time ago. Then there was a little bit of overwork on my side. It's now back on track. What we need initially to launch this from CNCF side, like it's not a hard requirement, but they would like this, is to have 3 companies and/or projects which sign up initially. So at launch we can say, okay, those are the initially compatible ones. So it's not the case of, oh, only that one company made it. Like I have a pretty good idea about what company is 100% compatible, but we would like more. So if you work at a company, if you have a project, if you whatever, email Prometheus team, please, and get in touch, start running the tests against your stuff. We are more than happy to help you figure this stuff out. And yeah. But there's one more thing. While I don't have a black sweater, there's one more thing. And I'm a little bit, I'm halfway taking off my Prometheus hat and putting on my Grafana hat or my tradition of PromCon hat. But I was saying, just plastering over earlier, we have hundreds of thousands of installations. And it's really, really hard to get good numbers. Like we have some mechanisms within Prometheus team, but it's really hard to get good numbers. If you've been around the PromCon for some time, you might know Carl Bergquist, who's sadly not here today, but he always did this, where we saw over time how the adoption stats for Prometheus and Grafana were. Of course, Grafana has relatively good insight into those numbers, but also they're really valuable. So basically, those numbers are closely guarded and not giving out, except for at PromCon. Like that's literally the one place where we give, like we with the Grafana hat on, give out those numbers. So without much further ado, those are, as of today, the current adoption stats of both Grafana and Prometheus. And as you can see, I'm really bad at graphics, so I don't have this nice thing, which Carl can make, but I can only make this. That's it. Questions?
Anyone? Hands up?
Now's your chance.
Seems like no.
Okay.
No?
Then
okay.
we get started with lightning talks.